Good evening and a very warm welcome to your evening news package with Television Tonga. Making headlines, Prime Minister Lord Divano discharged from hospital in New York. Huge dissatisfaction over redundancy packages awarded to staff of Tonga Print. Long-serving health staff recognized with honorary awards. An issue whether the law is applied equally to everyone was raised in Parliament this morning. These and other stories are later on in this bulletin. I'm Fatai Fenga with your news for tonight. The Prime Minister, Lord Divano, has been discharged from Bellevue Hospital in New York. He was released from hospital at 4 o'clock in the afternoon local time in the United States. The acting Chief Secretary and Secretary to Cabinet, Aloto Palo, confirmed this in a statement from the Prime Minister's office. According to Mr. Palo, the Prime Minister is in good health and now resides at the Tonga Mission in New York prior to returning to Tonga this weekend. The Prime Minister accompanied His Majesty King Nabola VI in representing Tonga to the United Nations General Assembly held last week. The issue of whether the law is applied equally to everyone was raised in Parliament this morning. The matter was discussed during a presentation of the annual report of the Ministry of Police for 2011. Sinlatu reports.
The Tongatapu number 1 MP, Akilisi Pohiva, told the House of his concern over the roles of the Ministry of Police in maintaining law and order in Tonga. According to Mr. Pohiva, the law is only applied to some people, but not to everyone. In response, the Honourable Minister for Justice, Clive Edwards, corrected Mr. Pohiva and maintained that the law is applied to everyone. Mr. Edwards reminded the House of the court case where Her Royal Highness Princess Bilolevu Tuita was charged and appeared in court. The correction of the Minister for Justice that the law is equally applied to everyone in Tonga was supported by the Noble Representative of Ewa, Lord Nuku. The House reconvened at 2 this afternoon to continue discussing the annual report of the Ministry of Police 2011. Parliament's discussion was broadcast live on Radio Tonga 1 and Radio Tonga 2 Cool 90 FM, thanks to the generosity of the British High Commission in cooperation with the Tonga Broadcasting Commission. For Television Tonga News, I'm Sinilatu.
And from court, Lord Tuihateho will appear in the Nuku'alofa Supreme Court later this month in connection with alleged illegal possession of weapon. His trial is scheduled for the 28th of this month. Magistrate Salesi Mafi ruled that they have enough evidence to submit Lord Tuihateho's case to the Supreme Court. Earlier in the trial, the legal counsel for Lord Tuihateho, Kahua Feaki, argued that his client's case did not have enough evidence to submit to the Supreme Court. Due to lack of funding for the operation of Tonga Print, a decision to downsize its staff had to be made and to merge Tonga Print with Tonga Post. This was underlined by the chairperson of the Board of Directors of Tonga Print to Radio and Television Tonga News after 14 of the staff received redundancy payment, including those who have worked in the business for over 3 decades. Meanwhile, there is dissatisfaction over the redundant package awarded to those who retired from Tonga Print. Television Tonga News interviewed one of the redundant workers, Siale Taufa, and she expressed her dissatisfaction over the package awarded to them. When they told us what's happening to the company, I was not aware of the amount of the redundant package, but the amount I received was not satisfied. However, I believe I will not be neglected as God will guide me through. I do not know where do I continue from here, whether if I can find a job anywhere else or not. However, I'm not complaining, for I believe that this is God's plan. In the meantime, the chairperson of the Board of Directors of Tonga Print, Tapu Panuve, says half of the workers' retirement has been paid off in previous years.
This is the third time they've been paid out redundancies. 2005, they were paid out their redundancy and retirement packages when the Tonga Print was corporatized. And then from 2006 to 2011, they collected their retirement contributions and also from Tonga Print. In 2011, the Tonga Print was supposed to be purchased by an overseas company. negotiations didn't work out. That fell through. But in anticipation of that, the workers were paid out another redundancy in 2011. In the interim period between 2011 and 2013 now, they didn't pay anything at all in terms of retirement funds, or there was nothing collected. So the package that was paid out to them was actually greater than what they received from 2006 to 2011.
Meanwhile, Ms. Dalfa says there wasn't enough time given to them to think through the consequences of the new restructure. I'm not so sure. I think they informed us 3 months ago, and they told us that the company will be bought by the Tonga Post, and for us to go home and talk with our spouses and families, and to also seek legal advice if necessary. But Mr. Barnube says the workers were informed on the matter in about 3 to 4 months ago, which given them enough time to think about it.
What we said back then was that in about 3 or 4 months' time, if we're going to get to the stage where there's no more money, the doors to Tonga Print will close and everybody will go home with nothing. So at that time, the best way forward, as put forward by the minister, was that we try and come up with a solution to look after the workers and also to try and revive Tonga Print. So in terms of not enough notice being given, there was 3 or 4 months beforehand, and at that meeting, I actually advised the staff to go home and talk to their partners, husbands or wives, and let them know the situation that Tonga Print was in, and that 3 or 4 months down the road, where we got to last week, we would be doing this because there's no other option.
He also says that the new restructure is to enable Tonga Print to compete with other print organizations and to also meet market standards. A teenage girl in Waini is reportedly in an excellent condition after a masked man tried to hold her hostage. The young girl is reported to be with her mother in Waini. Police have been searching for a masked man believed to have committed the alleged crime. Deputy Police Commissioner Sokai Matopaka told Radio Tonganese today that the incident occurred last week. Meanwhile, Radio Tonganese has obtained information from a reliable source that the incident took place when the 13-year-old girl was home alone. It's alleged that the man grabbed her from the back whilst she was sweeping her home. She was then forced inside the house. The intruder then tied the girl's mouth and hands with a string or kaffa before taking her outside to the back of the house. By this time, a man walked past the girl's house and noticed what has happened before he alerted the police. More than 2,800 Class 6 pupils have today completed their secondary school's entrance examination. They set the mathematics and Tongan as the last subject, where information from the Ministry of Education and Training says more than 800 students are in Tangatapu. The rest are from the outer islands. Linda Filiai reports.
One of the parents in Vava'o Moses Palay told our news correspondent in Neafu Ludovico Tapueluelu that all parents were happy to see their children eager to sit the exam. This year's entrance examination is a happy and joyful event. The results are not really necessary at this stage. I can see the joyful spirits amongst the parents in preparing their children both physically and spiritually. The most important lesson that parents taught their children is to trust in the Lord. Radio Tonga Strings in Niwa for All, Pensimani Tonga reports today that a feast is being prepared by the parents and teachers in support of the Class 6 student. After the first day of the entrance examination, there was a feast prepared by the parents for the examination student and the teachers. After today's paper, there will be another feast to show how happy the teacher and parents for this year's entrance examination. And according to our correspondent in Hapai, Moimoi Whahua, 186 pupils take the exam throughout the island. Also in Ewa, 175 students are taking the exam in 2 separate centres, according to our reporter, Tufiofi Now. Meanwhile, Television Tonga News crew took out some examination centres in Nuku'alofa areas, including Havelu Government Primary Schools, where 117 pupils set the exam, and also Whangau Pilolevu Government Primary Schools, with 79 Class 6 pupils. Some of the Class 6 pupils spoke to Television Tonga News how they feel after taking this major examination. I was happy to take this exam. I faced difficulties in answering some questions in the exam, but at the end of the day, I'm glad it's over. The exam paper was quite easy for me, only few questions that I was not able to answer. I want to thank God for His help during my preparation for this exam. I have studied hard to pass this exam as I want to make my parents happy. Meanwhile, one of the parents in Havelu told Television Tonga News that she is in full support of her son who took part in the exam. I would like to encourage all parents in Tonga to accept whatever result from their children's exam because everything is God's plan. I understand some of the parents have angry at their children once the result is out. However, there were more than 40 exam centers in Tongatapu with more than 200 candidates. The 2013 secondary school entrance examination was held in 97 centers throughout the kingdom. For Television Tonga News, I'm Linda Filiai.
The U.S. Embassy in Suva has confirmed they will continue regular consular services. The embassy is publicly informed that they maintain normal business hours and continue regular consular operations, including for American citizen services and issuing of tourist visas. The announcement comes despite the failure of the U.S. Congress to pass legislation enabling funding of U.S. government operations by midnight, September 30th, Washington, D.C., as the deadline. It resulted in a partial shutdown of the U.S. government. According to the announcement, the lapse in funding will not affect consular services provided by the U.S. Embassy in Suva, but some embassy activities will be limited. The U.S. Embassy in Suva is also accredited to Tonga. 5 long-serving staff of the Ministry of Health has been specially recognized with honorary awards. It's recognition of their loyal and dedicated service for the people of Tonga for many years. Their awards were presented during a combined conference of the Tonga Medical Association and the Pasifika Medical Association held in Nuku'alofa last week. A New Zealand-based Tongan doctor, Ate Foliaki Moala, confirmed this in a special program with Radio and Television Tonga. We were pleased to witness the historic day where long-serving staff in the health sector are being honoured. The awardees includes the former Chief Nursing Officers Lata Sokai, Malu, Anafotu Kawaifiafi, as well as Dr. Sels Aho, Dr. Bernard Tinukuafe, and Dr. Lei Safi. One of the recipients, Anafotu Kawaifiafi, told Radio Tonga News that she's happy to be awarded with such an honour. After more than 40 years of serving the Ministry of Health both in Tonga and Australia, I've been awarded this honorary prize and I'm happy about it. This is because such honour is not always available for everyone, but has been an outcome of hard work. And I'm thankful of the Tonga Medical Association and Pasifika Medical Association for this effort. The honorary awards are usually presented to long-serving staff of the ministry during the annual conference of the Tonga Medical Association. That's the local news. Pacific is up next.